On today's Ask Zach, we talk about the brand new Fender Brad Paisley signature model, the Lost Paisley. Well, hello friends, welcome to Ask Zach. Of course, we're going to talk about this crazy blue Paisley guitar today that Fender's releasing. It's a lot of fun. I've been very involved in this project, and I'm so excited that it's finally coming to light, coming to fruition. So we're going to talk about that, and you're also going to get to see a little clip of me playing with Brad Paisley and his band and Steve Wariner at the end of the show. So make sure you stay for that. All right, little pause for the cause. Just need to thank everyone that supports the show. Thumbs up, buying a coffee mug or a t-shirt. It's all really appreciated. And if you want to learn about supporting me on Patreon, there's a link in the description. All right, so in a nutshell, I got involved in this project because they were having a hard time getting the original cling foil blue Paisley paper. So they knew it existed. This is Brad and Joe Glazer. They were working on this together. Originally, it was just the two of them. But I got involved because they were having a hard time tracking it down, and they had found a post on a guitar forum, but they didn't really have any kind of presence there at all. And I had been on that forum for years, and of course I had my Ask Zach as my avatar and such, and I'd posted on there throughout the last 15, 20 years or whatever it's been, maybe longer. So they asked me to get involved and reach out and see if I could find this guy, get in touch with him. So all there was a post, and of course if you tried to click on the members' info, there was no email, there was no anything, we didn't even know his name. There was, found a few other posts about, that he had done through the years, but none of it really led to anything. So I just said, well, I guess I'll private message him. So I did, and just said, I'd love to talk to you about this blue Paisley paper that you have. And again, this was this Paisley paper that was on an ammo box. And I put my cell phone number on there, and I said, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you. So I did it, sent the message. And then I kept getting phone calls and texts from Joe Glazer and Brad Paisley saying, have you heard back yet? Have you heard back yet? And then, a couple of days later, have you heard back yet? Nothing. It was just radio silence. And I'd after a couple of weeks, I kind of thought, well, I guess that, that's going nowhere. Well, lo and behold, a week or two later, he called me, and his name's Alan Cross. And he had basically picked this up off Craigslist, and I don't want to ruin, the whole story, but basically we made a negotiation where he wanted a guitar with the original paper on it. So he felt like the paper that he had pulled off this box was enough to do, 2, maybe 3 guitars, depending on how it was kind of pieced together and how the pieces were used, if you could match them up like a jigsaw puzzle. So he sent us the paper, and there will be a video coming out that I got Jim Lill, my friend, and who does wonderful videos, is he and I, well, he's doing all the legwork, but I did a lot of documentation, through this entire process. So he has videos of us unfurling the paper out of the container that it came in, and all sorts of great footage. So be watching for that. That'll come out later this month. But we built a guitar, for Brad. Brad's is an actual 67 Tele maple cap that the body had been stripped, and we took the original paper and put it on there. And that wasn't, I'm kind of being flippant in that because it was a long process. We had to figure out how to glue the paper on. We had to figure out what kind of finish to put over it. If you put the wrong finish on it, if you put lacquer on top of cling foil, the chemical process will eat up all of the paisley, all of the paint on there. So we had to put poly over the paper, and then we had to burst the sides with lacquer. And Brad figured all that out. Joe and I helped, but Brad was the one that actually sprayed the poly, sprayed the lacquer on the sides, and relicked it. So if you watch my show, you've seen some of the guitars that Brad has built me. There's a Strat and a Broadcaster and another kind of 52 looking Telly, and of course the Glazer Telly, that all have finishes and relicking done by Brad. So he's very good at this. So we built one for Brad from a 67. We built another one for Alan Cross to have with original paper, and then there was just enough of the paper to do this one. So this is another, the last of the proof of concept prototypes. And so this has original 60s cling foil on it, but there wasn't enough to cover the back, and so we put a Buck Owens coloring book page, and there'll be more about that in the coming videos. But we worked hard on this. Brad contacted Fender. Fender was excited about the project, but they said, you have to figure out how to make the paper. And Brad said yes, without, of course, he just said we could do it. Then you actually had to do it. That's the hard part. So Joe, Brad, and I worked our tails off, and it took us about a year to get the right kind of foil paper with the right embossing pattern on it, and then to figure out the colors, and it was really a fun project. Then, of course, getting the pattern right, which there was a bunch of guys at Glazer's shop that were involved in that. Nick Druschel, there were guys, of course, we had to put a bender on it, and of course we came up with a custom set of pickups with Seymour Duncan called the Lost Paisley set, that are kind of based on a late 60s style pickup, but wax potted instead of lacquer potted. We wanted a maple cap neck with a transition logo and Kluson machine heads, and then one of the things we worked really hard on was making sure that the guitar was light, because Brad, Joe, and I are all fans of light Telecasters, and so we wanted it to be in between 6.5 and 7 pounds, maybe lower 7 pounds. So we had to do some, we had to jump through some hoops. So what we found was that we could use a combination of woods, and so we used the wood that was on Brad's old 67, which was alder, and so we used part of it is alder, and then it also has paulownia on there, and it also has a little bit of spruce too. So it kind of borrows some features from his Ensenada, Mexico-made guitar. But it's just a really great instrument, and we worked our tails off. Of course, it'll come with Glazer's convertible bender, where it can be either a B or a G bender, and these custom Seymour Duncan pickups, and really great kind of fat maple cap neck. And I love maple cap necks. They're they just have a great sound to them, and I think they look cool, and so it's really an exciting guitar, and I'm excited to be involved with it, and I'm excited for y'all to get to check it out. So there will initially be 67 of these guitars made by the Fender Custom Shop out in California, and those will be completely done by the staff there. Chase Paul is the director of the custom shop, and he's been amazing to work with. And we actually flew out there so that Brad could show them how he does the bursting and the relicking on this, so that they could replicate it. There will also be 19 of these made, get it, 1967, that will be done partially by the kind of, Fender has kind of a skunk works that's headed up by the great Tim Shaw, and he has a wonderful staff here, and so they're helping us out with making the bodies, and then the necks are going to be made in California, and then they will be finished and relicked here in Nashville by Brad Paisley, and they will be taken to Glazer's shop, and Joe Glazer and Aaron Parker will put the benders on. I'm sure Max and some of the other cats, Nick Druschel and others, will be involved in it, and I will be involved in it in like the setup and wiring and everything, and just making sure they're all great. And those guitars will be at a much higher price point because they're being used to raise money for charity. So we're absolutely going to help out Brad's charity, which is called The Store, which is a way for people that are going through a hard time to get groceries with dignity. They can actually, shop for these, groceries and stuff, and they don't have to pay when they leave. And it's a wonderful thing that Brad and his wife Kim came up with. We may also, help out some other charities too, but that's what the 19 are going to be for. And they will be, of course, Fender is launching the 67, today, and we will be, starting to get the 19 out later this month or midsummer. So one of the things that was a lot of fun was Fender had a launch party just for the media. It was kind of a sneak peek, and it was last week, April 30th, at Fender's artist showroom here in Nashville. And it was a room full of greats, and also a bunch of my YouTube friends like Robert Baker and RJ Ronquillo and Rhett Shull and Zach with Mythos and John Bollinger with Premier Guitar. All these guys that I love, and I'm sure you love too, and watch, they were all there, and it was really fun to get to hang with them and such. And I got to lead. I got to kind of moderate the event, and we had a panel with myself and Brad Paisley, and we had Chase Paul, of course, the director of the custom shop, and then we had Ben Blanc Dumont, who is the head of kind of Fender artist marketing, and all great guys that, of course, were very, very, very involved in this project. So it was a lot of fun to get to do that. And then at the end of the event, they had Brad's band, and they played a couple songs, and then they had a jam. And so part of the jam, I got to get up with Brad Paisley and his band and Steve Wariner, and I got to play. And so we're at the end of the video, you'll see a clip, and I get to even take a little solo. It was a ton of fun. So I need to thank Fender. I need to thank all the guys at Glazer's shop. I need to thank just Brad and Joe Glazer and everyone that's been involved in this project. It has just been a hoot. I mean, this is a wonderful guitar, and I can't wait for you all to be able to see them and learn more about them. Now, you need to go watch Fender's video, which they spent a lot of money and time on. They came out to Nashville, and they filmed at Brad's Guitar Lab, where he does all of his finishing and assembly and such. And they just made a really wonderful video that's really funny. And Tim Shaw also stars in it. So it's wonderful. You'll really, really love it. So, and when you go over there and watch it, you need to make sure and comment. And you need to say something nice, and then you need to say that Zach sent you. All right, guys. Well, here's the clip, and I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. Bye-bye.